The air inside the substation studio is thick with the smell of old solder and new ideas, a low tube hum vibrating through the floorboards. Anansi's meters flicker like restless fireflies, while Kaylin's fingers drum a rhythm on a stack of Xeroxed flyers. Outside, the city's pulse thrums, a million stories waiting for a signal.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Across St. James, the dial sits at 59 Fahrenheit under clear. Winds are moving from the southwest at 3 miles per hour. Across St. James, the dial sits at 59 Fahrenheit under clear skies. This hour, we're building an internal compass, charting autonomy and structural self-worth. It's about integrating logic and emotion, discerning the architectural signal from the noise. First up, California is looking at a new path to funding. A proposition for a one-time 5% levy on residents holding over $1 billion in assets is heading to the November ballot. This move pits individual concentrated wealth against the state's public resource needs.
Data streams confirm the proposal has gathered sufficient signatures for the ballot. The critical anchor here is Proposition 37, targeting this specific wealth bracket. This pushes financial allocation into the public discourse beyond traditional legislative channels.
Tracing the provenance, similar initiatives appear throughout economic history. The pushback from figures like Governor Newsom and various tech moguls isn't a surprise. It's a predictable pattern in the ongoing struggle for resource dignity.
A faint crackle sparks across the console as Anansi adjusts a dial, the air thick with anticipation.
When capital centralizes, the civic architecture often strains. This ballot measure is an attempt to re-engineer that distribution, favoring consent through direct democratic action. It's about building a more resilient framework for shared value.
Patching in a caller, the contrarian. You're on the signal.
So a 5% tax. Will it actually change anything, or just make them move states?
A fair question, caller. History shows that capital mobility is a real concern with such proposals. However, the legal and logistical hurdles of moving an entire financial operation are substantial, often outweighing the direct tax impact for many. Consider that in 2023, France saw its wealth tax generate significant revenue despite some initial capital flight. Alternative path. Instead of a blanket wealth tax, California could implement a tiered capital gains tax, specifically on gains from assets over $500 million, or a corporate stock buyback tax to disincentivize wealth hoarding within companies. Next move experiment. A civic dividend project could see a portion of this potential tax revenue directly allocated to community-identified projects via a secure platform like the Gig Passport Mesh, where local groups propose initiatives and residents vote using digital stamps. Hold that thread. Next signal. Ukraine brings the war to Moscow as huge.
Confirmed satellite imagery indicates multiple damage points at the Ryazan refinery complex. This precise targeting demonstrates an evolved tactical approach. The goal is to degrade specific financial arteries, not just create general disruption.
This mirrors the economic pressure we just discussed. Both the California tax and these tactical strikes are direct assaults on entrenched financial structures. They push for a rebalancing of power, challenging existing orders through direct action. Provenance of conflict shows such economic leverage is a constant.
The tools of conflict morph quickly. Whether ballot initiatives or drone strikes, people adapt technologies for new purposes. We must discern the architectural intent behind these actions and work to shape guardrails for engagement that uphold dignity.
Lex, you had some thinking on alternative paths here. Alternative path. Beyond physical strikes, a concerted global effort on cyber attacks targeting Russian financial institutions' SWIFT access or their central bank's digital infrastructure could achieve economic disruption without direct physical escalation. Next move experiment. The Black Star radio program could host a conflict futures simulation series using matrix rooms for public debate on the potential long-term geopolitical and economic impacts of various strategies, mapping out consent-based resolutions. This would leverage the mesh for collective analysis. We have another voice on the line. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
Do these attacks truly weaken Russia or just escalate the conflict?
Hold that thread. Next signal. Satellite observations detect urban pulse of 6 global.
The detail here is significant. Researchers from the University of Cambridge developed these algorithms. They map everything from traffic flow to waste management, providing a granular look at city functions. The data points are hyperlocal, creating an intricate urban model.
While the data promises efficiency, we must practice sharp discernment. The urban pulse can easily become a surveillance pulse if the provenance of that data isn't transparent, eroding consent and dignity. We need to integrate the emotional impact of constant monitoring with the logic of urban planning.
This.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.